I learned the rules before I learned anyone's name. That's the first thing that should have scared me. My first night at the Arizona data center, the desert heat was still clinging to the building even after midnight. The place sat miles outside the city. No signs, no windows, just concrete, fences, and power lines humming like insects in the dark. The air smelled like dust and electricity. I was hired as a night security guard. Good pay, quiet work. They told me the danger came from high voltage, cooling systems, human error. One wrong move and you're dead. That part made sense. What didn't make sense was the thin folder they handed me before my first patrol. No training manual, no emergency contacts, just rules. The supervisor slid it across the desk and said, "Memorize these. Follow them exactly and don't ask why." I laughed. He didn't. The first rule said I was never allowed to enter server hall C between 1:11 and 1:17 in the morning. That sounded harmless enough. Odd, but harmless. At 1:10 a.m., I stood outside hall C on my first shift. The hallway lights were steady. The fans roared like always. The access panel glowed green. At exactly 1:11, the lights dimmed, not off, just lower, like the building was bracing itself. Not the hum of servers. Not airflow. Something slow, heavy, metal scraping against metal. I watched the clock. Every second felt stretched. My palms were sweating inside my gloves. I didn't move until 1:17 passed and the lights returned to normal. The sound stopped instantly. Later, I checked the system logs. Nothing in that room is supposed to move. The second rule said if I ever heard my name over the intercom, I should never respond. At 2 a.m., the intercom crackled. Even my name. Clear as day. My hand went straight to my radio before my brain caught up. I froze. My finger hovered over the button. "Evan," the voice said again. It didn't sound like it came from the ceiling speaker. It sounded like it was standing just behind my right ear. I held my breath. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might trigger something. After a few seconds, the intercom clicked off. The next morning, I asked who runs the POS system at night. They told me no one does. Another rule warned me never to acknowledge the man in the server room glass. Server rooms are lined with reflective panels. You see yourself everywhere, warped, stretched, broken into pieces. Around 2:40, while checking temperature sensors, I noticed a reflection that didn't copy my movements. A man stood behind me. He was tall, thin, wearing a security uniform that looked older than mine. The name patch was scratched clean. Every instinct told me to turn around. I didn't. In the reflection, he smiled. The fans grew louder. The glass vibrated under my fingertips. My chest felt tight, like the air was thinning. Then the lights flickered. The reflection was just me again. Later, I found an old incident report. A guard died here 12 years ago. Same height, same build. The next rule said if an alarm ever sounded without a location, I was supposed to hide. At 3:07 a.m., the alarm went off. No zone, no warning code. Just a low, pulsing sound that crawled straight into my teeth. I ran without thinking. There's a maintenance crawl space behind the cooling array, barely tall enough to crouch. I slid inside and shut the panel behind me. The alarm stopped. Then I heard footsteps, slow, heavy, too deliberate to be human. They passed my hiding spot, then stopped. Something sniffed. It sounded wet, curious. I covered my mouth, trying not to breathe. My legs were shaking so badly I thought the noise would give me away. After what felt like an hour, the footsteps moved on. The alarm log showed nothing, no trigger, no fault. Another rule said I should never accept help from anyone after 4 a.m. At 4:12, I twisted my ankle near the loading dock. Pain shot up my leg, sharp enough to make my vision blur. I leaned against the wall, trying to stay quiet. "That looks bad," a voice said. A guard stepped into the light, same uniform, same badge style, but his face looked unfinished, too smooth, like it hadn't settled on an age. "I can take you to medical," he said. I remembered the rule. "I'm fine," I said. His smile twitched. "Are you sure?" he asked. The lights flickered, his shadow bent the wrong way. I said, "I'm fine." He stared at me for a long time. Then he walked away backward without turning around. The rule after that said if the cooling fans ever went silent, I shouldn't move. At 5:03 a.m., they stopped. The silence hit harder than any alarm. My ears rang. The air felt thick and wrong. I froze mid-step. Somewhere deep inside the building, something exhaled. Warm air brushed my face. It smelled like dust, metal, and something organic. I didn't move until the fans exploded back to life all at once. No interruption was recorded. The last rule was simple: never break the first rule twice. 2 weeks later, staffing was short. Another guard called in sick. I had to double-check Hall C at 1:13 a.m. I told myself I'd just looked through the observation window. The lights dimmed harder this time. Inside the room, the server racks had shifted inward, angled toward the glass. The floor moved. Something was crawling beneath it. The door handle twitched. I ran. Behind me, the building made a sound I still can't describe. Not mechanical, not human. Like metal screaming in anger. They terminated my contract that morning. No paperwork, no explanation, just one final sentence. "You were lucky," the supervisor said. "It noticed you. I don't work security anymore, but sometimes late at night I hear the sound of cooling fans when everything around me is silent. And last night my phone buzzed, no caller-ID, just a voicemail, my name, spoken softly, from very far away and getting closer.